Got a few minutes? Let's go for a walk. Hey, let me ask you, how many straight bros out here do you think ever get asked by their male friends to text me when you get home? So, have you seen that clip that's gone viral? It's a clip from a stand-up special by Daniel Sloss. It's from his HBO special X. And apparently the last 15 minutes he speaks about this issue, but it's about a 1 or 2 minute clip that's been going viral. He tells a story about a friend of his who was raped. It turns out that it was a male friend of his that raped his friend. And he says some really important and powerful things. He talks about how, there were signs that he saw, red flags, things that he ignored, leading up to, eventually down the road, this friend of his causing and committing such a horrible act. So he takes ownership over a lot of things. He says that he could have done something about the situation, right? He could have done something earlier on when he was seeing some of the behavior, the deteriorating behavior with his friend, and he says how that's something that's going to be on him for the rest of his life. So he's talking about how, doing nothing does something and allows the harm to happen or to eventually happen, kind of like aiding and abetting in harm or hurt happening. He says, if you don't like the narrative, not all men, well then do something about it. And he says that being good on the inside isn't good enough, it's what you do to prevent. He says you have to actively be good and get involved. And these are all, important things that he says. And it's powerful that he's doing it in his stand-up HBO special, and that means that it's a whole wide range of people that are going to hear it. But here's the thing, and I don't want to be that guy that's always like, but I got a bone to pick, or I have this one issue. And I recognize that, we in society get really kind of, defensive around everyone having an opinion, and everyone shares their opinion, especially online. It reminds me that my favorite lyric from the Minor Threat song, when he says, you say I'm not making a difference, at least I'm fucking trying. What the fuck have you done, right? I totally get it. But there's this one line he has in the piece that I gotta bring up, because I think it comes from a place of really good intention. The line is, I believe deep down I know that most men are good. Of course we are. But when 1 in 10 men are shit, the other 9 do nothing. They might as well not fucking be there. And he says it with a lot of passion and intensity. Saying 9 out of 10 men are good men feels good to good men, but is it good enough? Because for me, the energy is kind of like, it's that one guy. It's that guy. It's those men. It's these men. Not me. Not us. Not all men. Look, I used to say this line back in the day as well. In my early days of talking to men and boys about helping end gender-based violence, I'd say something like, most men are good men who are on the sidelines doing nothing about the issue. I stopped saying that many years ago. I mean, it was well intended, and when people say it again, I know that it comes from a good place, but I gotta say it's bullshit. Look, the reality is it's most men who have been disappointing. Statistics that we hear about the reality of people of marginalized genders, like the things that women and girls go through, tells us it just can't be 1 out of 10 guys doing all this. Now, obviously, Sloss, and when people like Sloss are using the language of 1 out of 10, they're referring to someone like a Harvey Weinstein, a Bill Cosby, someone who's killed someone or sexually assaulted and raped someone. But when we set the conversation up to being this, it's 1 out of 10 men that are monstrous, and the rest of us are just good guys. It allows us to hide amongst the 9 of 10. One of the nicest things someone's ever told me, if you're like me, I hate getting compliments, but I'm learning to accept them and appreciate them. And I remember a compliment I got before I went to do a talk once. A friend, a colleague of mine, was in the audience, and he pulled me aside before and he said, I heard you on the radio the other day, and you're on with another dude, another gentleman who does great work around helping end violence against women and men helping end gender-based violence. And he said, that other gentleman on the radio, he would use that language of these men and those men. And he said, you said we as men, us as men. And I didn't really realize that I used that specific language. It was just something that I did, and I didn't really take it in. It's something that now I'm even more conscious of using language that I continue to use. Because I think it is us as men, we as men. The reality is that most men have been disappointing, have caused hurt, if not harm. And I don't mean at the end of the spectrum, fatal violence, sexual assault. I think we are on the spectrum of harm, the continuum of being disappointing, hurtful, or harmful. We've all said or done things that we regret. Whether it's in our past, the words we've used, the behavior, the attitudes, the way we treated someone or didn't treat someone, the things we didn't do or did too much of. So I think about how for a lot of people of marginalized genders, and I think of women who will say, well, okay, not all men, but the other 9 out of 10 men, I gotta tell you, it's not only I don't know which one of you is the 1 out of 10. My experience has been, more often than not, it's more than 1 out of 10 guys. And again, it's not the extreme violence that we're talking about. It's the quote-unquote everyday stuff that can be damaging, that can have a negative, lasting impact. A friend of mine once told me, she said, why is it rape is the only thing that seems to bother people, not all the billions of other things leading up to it or surrounding it that are just as toxic and horrible and damaging? Look, I also realize it's a softer sell for us that are trying to invite men into accountability, to encourage men into stepping into helpful versus harmful ideas of manhood. It's easier to coddle guys and say, hey, it's that one guy, or it's those men, versus saying, hey, it's us as men, it's you and me, we as men. So this quote is a quote from a man named Junior Birchall from the Toronto community, who's done some incredible work around inspiring men to do better and be better. And by every definition, you would label him and call him a male feminist based on the way he carries himself, the actions he takes, the words he uses, and the impact he has on people. He shared this quote that I, to this day, use as a personal compass. He says, no disrespect to the men that identify as male feminists, but I do not, nor will I ever identify as a male feminist. I choose to define myself as a raging misogynist in the very early stages of recovery, where relapse is an ever-present possibility. Whew, now that quote is heavy, right? It's heavy. It says a lot. But I think for me, and it's not about being paranoid or hyper-present or fearful in everything that you do. I think there's a lot of tension right now for men around saying the right thing, doing the right thing, the fear of these conversations, the backlash to Me Too, all these different things. So I don't want you to get to a place of paranoia, the whole walking on eggshells thing. But there is a sweet spot between being very present in these conversations and just not caring at all. There's a sweet spot where we are self-aware and continuously self-aware and don't let ourselves off the hook, but we're constantly mindful and present in the impact that we have and leave on others. I think a quote like that, what it does is it kind of makes men who do work with other men, men who are trying to inspire men to do better, you want to call them male feminists, male allies, pro-feminist men, men who engage men. There's a fear they feel when they hear that quote. I've seen it in men's faces, when I say it, they kind of go, oh boy, It's the fear to implicate ourselves. But it's like, if you're doing this work to engage men, the trick is that you're a man while you're doing it, right? So it's kind of like you're trying to encourage other guys to dismantle and rebuild their house brick by brick. But it's not like a one and done situation. It's an ongoing, lifelong thing. It's like that Bruce Lee quote about, be water, like how your life is very fluid, and how I think of it like it's your body, like every year regenerates bones, hair, skin, cells. It's like a house, and every brick is being built and replaced one at a time. So the trick is for men who are trying to unlearn and untangle all this stuff, it's like you're trying to replace the bricks one at a time, but you look off to the side and five of those bricks have regenerated, and it's the toxic, harmful ideas of manhood. You're trying to replace these bricks with helpful, healthy, positive, inclusive, nurturing ideas of manhood from the foundation up. But every time you get to work and you remove some of those bricks and replace them, some of the other ones regenerate, right? All the harmful ones. So it's an ongoing process. You keep trying to catch them as they grow, as you're dismantling and rebuilding. It's an ongoing process. And the thing is, you get into the mindset where your job is to tell or model it to other men, but you got to do that work as well. Like you're doing it in real time. So I think, the fear that we might have of implicating ourselves and saying we as men, I think you need to recognize that when we're trying to reach out to men on the other side of that conversation, they feel that. They're hearing that. I remember years ago I staffed a table on a university where I started doing my work back in 2008. And we had tables across the campus, and I organized people to staff the tables, and there was a pledge that we had. We asked people to never commit, condone, or remain silent about violence against women. And they didn't have to, they didn't have to sign up for anything or leave their email. It was just, they could, but we just asked them to sign, just a signature or initial, because we wanted to get those numbers to show the support and solidarity. And that statement seems like a no-brainer, right? And it was a campus where there was 50,000 full-time students. You got to think thousands upon thousands of full-time, part-time staff, faculty, administration, people who worked to maintain the campus. And there were probably about 25,000 part-time students. So you could say it was close to 100,000 people who were in that community. And we were there for a week. We got 3,000 signatures. And I would say more than half of them were women. Now, that's a great turnout. Those are great numbers. But what I noticed when I would staff the table, or I would sit and watch the tables as they were being staffed by others, and watch the interactions and listen to the conversations, what I picked up on was, for a lot of men, there was a kind of fight, flight, or freeze response to the statement. Some would get defensive or argumentative. Some would kind of just when they realized what the issue was about, they'd turn away and walk away. And I think the roadblock for some of these guys, the barrier for some of these guys, was the fear or the shame. Men are trying to figure it out. It's kind of like we're all in the garden on our hands and knees, trying to plant seeds to grow good things and trying to figure this all out. And there are people along the sidelines in their white suits, and they're pointing fingers at us and telling us how to do it right, do better, be better. Everyday guys are like, whatever, man, I'm in the dirt here trying to figure it out. Let me see you get in here and join me and show me. You've also got guys on the sidelines who are pretending to be doing the work with you, but they're telling you how to do it and how to do it differently, how to hide things from the past. Or it's like, rather than helping you pull out the weeds, they're actually pulling out all the good things that are starting to grow or that need to grow. Guys are in the dirt either trying to dig up the truth, figuring things out. They're trying to figure out how to plant seeds, how to grow good things. Or they're trying to bury their past, bury their mistakes. What they need to do is turn that into compost for the garden so that things can bloom and grow. So we got to model it for each other. So let's get in the mud. Let's do the hard work. People can see through bullshit. So don't just talk about it, be about it. So who are the good men? When women and non-binary folks navigate life, they ask that question whether it's online, in person walking down the street, or when they even get home. They're constantly asking themselves that question. Ask that question about the men in your life. Continue to ask yourself to strive to be someone others will call a good man, not because of the impression you have on them, but the impact you leave with them. So I think for me, the way forward is saying, hey, look, we all have unique experiences and unique journeys and things that we've done or not done or haven't done enough of. What I'm here to tell you is that I'm on this journey of trying to figure things out, to unlearn, to make amends for mistakes I've made. And you're not alone. Like, I'm doing it too. Because I think the difference is that when we stand off to the side and try to make ourselves feel better as a way to make the conversation easier for ourselves internally, but also the conversation we're trying to have with men, I think it's important to recognize that no matter what we do, this conversation is uncomfortable. The whole find comfort in the discomfort of this conversation is not a simple sell, it's not a inviting sell, but it's about saying, let's get that work. Let's do that hard work. Let's do it together. If we want to be good men, if we truly want to say that we're good men, that means we got to do that work. But we can do it together, and you're not alone. Let's keep walking.